Wow, guys, I totally just completely forgot the whole countdown. What's up, everyone? Happy Thursday. Going to be a big, big day today. Sorry if we have...
Uh-oh.
All right, guys. My audio crashed. We're going to Steven.
Okay.
All right. Well,
All right.
let me bring you guys in. Let's see if my camera will come back. All right.
We're just talking about those home kits that the company's got to get us. But
all right, let's try this again, guys. Sorry for all the chaos to start the show right now. We have a lot to go through. Again, college baseball opening day starts tomorrow. Do I know squat about college baseball? Absolutely not. But I'm starting my journey today with the help of my good friend Jake Fettner, who knows just about everything there is to know about college baseball. So we're going to go through this journey together. Let's take a look at yesterday's recap. Again, we're getting back on track. We're profitable. Love to see more green than red here. And then we get into college baseball. We have 3 NBA games we want to just zip through really quick. I know they're kind of ugly given the All-Star break coming up tomorrow, but let's head into more. Milwaukee headed to Memphis. A few key injuries here. Nothing too surprising that we didn't already know, but we'll head over to the model, see if there's any value we like in this game.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Memphis team total over 104.5. The model actually has them all the way at 113. The line's based on Memphis's horrible 105-point average at home this season, and their and Milwaukee's reputation as a great defensive team. But Milwaukee's very inconsistent. They had 2 great games recently, allowing 95 to Denver and 95 to Denver, 84 to Charlotte. But those were sandwiched between 129 to Minnesota, 123 to Miami. They allow 121 on the road. So I'm going to go with the stats that Memphis is actually played a little bit more confidently, as we had them as a good value to upset Houston yesterday, and they put up 121 and handled that game pretty well. Jake got his Vince Williams pick because he's been distributing the ball, playing all around game, shooting and dishing.
Yeah. He went just 1 for 6, but he made 10 free throws. So that's why it hit. And I was kind of thinking it might be a good time to buy into him again because he's probably not going to go 1 for 6. I think it's his worst shooting game of the whole year, and he still went over his points and assists.
And I don't know what they allow, but I know Milwaukee's ATS record with 1 day off is only 11-22. So something tells me they're not locking down defensively to rack up an 11-22 ATS record.
Mm-hmm. I see a lot of people in the chat asking about Mr. Jaren Jackson here, which could be a good part of this team total. PRA set 30.5. Looks like we have some value there at 31.2. Yep. But his point total just 22.5. Is that? I guess it's all around the same.
We have 23.6. Yeah, I think we'd go around if again, remind me to make this thing bigger. This is how I find my props in the day, which is we get a feed, not a complete feed of all the lines, but a pretty good sense of what this basic consensus line is. And the main overvalues are actually on his that aren't heavily juiced are his points, as opposed to, there's a little bit of value on his rebound. Oh no, there isn't. It's really the points that are driving that number. So I would go with the points. It jibes with our team total over as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Milwaukee on 1 day rest has a 117 defensive team rating, which is slightly worse than their regular 116. So yeah, they're a little worse on 1 day rest.
Yeah, 117 is not a good number either.
No. I feel like they're just overvalued from people just thinking they're really good with Giannis, but they're not a great defensive team yet.
No. Bad news bears with the defense in Milwaukee. I feel like that's one thing I've taken away consistently since the beginning of the season here. All right, let's move on to Minnesota going to Portland. A slight steam to Portland here. A lot of steam to the under. Any key injuries we should be worrying about here?
It was the only is Anthony Edwards is he's listed on the sites with player prop line, so it's probably more likely they'll play than not, and as are the rest of the team. So if he was really listed as questionable. If he was really in doubt, you probably wouldn't see lines for all the other players like Conley and even Karl Anthony Towns up there. So let's assume he'll play. On Portland side, Scoot Henderson actually played pretty well in his return, and so but he's still listed on the injury report, but he played 34 minutes last game, so I don't think he's a threat to sit. The only bet, well, the model's got a lot of value on Minnesota and the over, but these two teams just played. So Minnesota at Portland on February 13th, and some weird stuff happened. So I think that people like to think that the opposite of what happened the first game might happen the second. The only thing that I'm going to go with is DeAndre Ayton turnovers. So he had no turnovers in a big game, 22 points and 16 rebounds. But overall, he's been trending up offensively. So last year in Phoenix, he averaged around 18 points a game, and he averaged 1.8 turnovers. This year, the ball's in his hands less, and he's only averaging around 14 points a game, and it's only like 1.5 turnovers. So I'm assuming that he'll continue to this nice offensive stretch where he's been at 18 or more in his last 9 games, except for one game where he only had 8. So if he keeps having the ball in his hands, the turnovers should come at a similar rate as before, and you get plus money on over 1.5.
I like to call this a passive-aggressive player prop. Like, you just think this is just going to happen naturally, considering everything else that's going on.
The zigzag thing's been working for me recently, and then yesterday you had some success with those 50-50 bets with plus money. So I'm just trying to ride that wave while it hasn't crashed.
Fair. All right, let's move on. The final game of the night before we head into the All-Star break. Golden State headed to Utah. Not a ton of movement here at all. Slight steam to Golden State, but could be an ugly game.
Yeah, the model likes Golden State by 67%. The odds imply, 56%-ish. Because Golden State's a better road team than home team this year. They're +4 point differential on the road, -1 at home. They rebound much better, +7 on the road. So it's obviously an effort and focus thing that they have. I think last night's collapse versus the Clippers in the fourth quarter actually helps because Golden State sometimes at home gets a little lax given their history of being a dominant team. Once they're up big at home, they just take it easy. They think that they're going to blow doors off everybody, but that mystique is gone. So teams like the Clippers will come back and bite them. So this is a huge game in terms of playoff positioning. Golden State's in the 10th seed, barely clinked that playing spot, and they could build a nice 2.5 game cushion on Utah, who's in the 11th spot if they beat them in Utah, and plus get head to head.
All right. Don't have to convince me much. I'm in on Golden State. All right. I'm going to send Steven and the pool table to the chat to talk any more NBA there is to be had there. Me and Jake are heading into the college baseball era. I'm a first timer. Jake's a vet. But let's talk about it. Let's break it down. First of all, I'm just basically learning. So why don't you give me a little sum up of last season, who won, who were the top teams, and if they're just as good now.
Yeah, so last year, LSU was a wagon with Paul Skeens. They struggled to start, and then they finished. If you might know Paul Skeens from Livy Dunn.
Yes.
And then so they won the championship over my Gators in 3 games. Wake Forest was probably the best team most of last year. This year, they are the top team, and I think there's a pretty big gap between them and the rest of the teams just because their pitching should be very dominant. Their hitting should take a bit of a step back with no Brock Wilken, but they're still going to be very good. But the SEC should be dominant as always, but I only have, I think, 2 SEC teams making my Omaha 8. Here's my Omaha 8. Going with Wake Forest. Get them at plus money to make Omaha.
Wait, sorry. Can I interrupt? The Omaha 8 are just the people that go to the playoffs?
Yeah. So the NCAA tournament, there's 64 teams, just like in college basketball, but there's 16 brackets of 4. And then if you win, you go to the next round, which is the super regionals. And then 8 teams go to the College World Series. And so the Omaha 8 is the 8 teams who go to the College World Series.
Got it. All right, so we're looking at your Omaha 8, not seeing any SEC. Oh, I guess Arkansas I'm looking at.
Arkansas and Texas A&M, so got 2 of them in there.
Okay.
I think Wake should just be the best team. They're at -130 on DraftKings, but you get them at plus money on Bet Rivers. A lot of these, I just went between the best value between Bet Rivers, DraftKings, FanDuel, and Hard Rock. And it's pretty split on. I will have a Northeastern prop coming up soon. Spoiler alert, but I think Arkansas is going to be really good this year. They're at plus 150. Hagen Smith, this is a Friday night guy. He's been rumored to be up to 102. So I like Arkansas a lot. They got Mason Molina, who was Texas Tech's number 1 guy last year, as their number 3 starter. TCU, I'm surprised they're plus 300 on DraftKings to make Omaha, because I think they're at around minus 120 on Bet Rivers. So you're getting a lot of value on DraftKings on that one. Same thing with Oregon State. They're close to minus 150 on Bet Rivers, but they're plus 300 on TK. I think Oregon State could very well win the championship this year. They've won it 3 times since 2004 or since 2006. So I mean, they've got a really good program going on. They did lose a guy to Tommy John yesterday, but they should be really good. Texas A&M, a lot of people are staying off Texas A&M because they were not that good last year. But this year they got a lot of transfers. They got Braden Montgomery. I think they're going to be good. They have a really good coach in Jim Schlossnagle. Virginia, I really like betting on Virginia to make the College World Series every year. They're plus 280 on Bet Rivers. I'm surprised that some of these teams are at plus 300 on DK, but Virginia, you get them at like plus 200 on DK, but plus 280 on Bet Rivers. Then Coastal Carolina and UC Santa Barbara are my 2 mid-major teams to make Omaha 8. Coastal Carolina, Gary Gilmore's last season, he's won a championship before back in 2016 with the Chanticleers. It's this farewell tour. I think they'll be really good. Their pitching scares me a bit, but their offense could be one of the best in the country. They have a couple MLB draft prospects. Then UC Santa Barbara, they're kind of a little on the opposite spectrum of Coastal Carolina, where their pitching should be what carries them. They're going to be really good on the mound this year, and plus 800 on Bet Rivers is pretty good value just to make Omaha.
What's more powerful, to have like great pitching or great offense, or is it a mix?
I mean, it's a little bit of a mixture, but when it comes to the playoffs, it's always the teams with the top pitchers are the best. I guess so you want a little mixture of both, but like last year, Paul Skeens carried LSU for most of the season because the rest of their pitchers weren't playing that well. And then except for Ty Floyd turned it on against the Gators, but they struggled outside of Skeens for a lot of the season.
Right. I do want to mention,
I guess West Virginia probably does have the best hitter in the country in JJ Weatherall, who I don't mind taking him to win the Golden Spikes Award, which is pretty much the college baseball MVP.
Mm-hmm. I do want to mention we do have 4 opening day picks from Jake for tomorrow at the end of the show. So just wanted to hit a little bit of a preview of the season before we get to those, but we do have a few plays to take into the weekend here. All right, let's talk about some long shot World Series futures, because we're all about value here, okay? We're going to give you the big boy value plays, Northeastern being one of them that was being talked about in the chat.
So these were lines from yesterday, and it's crazy how much they changed. So I'm going to chat with a couple of guys who follow college baseball. And Northeastern went from plus 2,000 to plus 700 back to plus 1,500 to make the College World Series. Now that they're pretty much settled at plus 1,500. So I got them at plus 2,000, but plus 1,500 I still think is pretty good value. They're the number 23 team in the country, according to D1 Baseball. So they're a top 25 team, and getting them at 20-1 where I got them, or 15-1 where you can still get them right now, just to make Omaha, not win the College World Series, just to make it, is pretty good value. And they have a really good coach. They have one of the best players in the country in Mike Sirota. And their pitching scares me a bit, but they brought back 2 of their top pitchers. So I still think there's value in them just to make the College World Series.
All right. Fair enough to me. Any teams that aren't long shot odds that you like a lot, other than Wake Forest, I know is up there for you?
Yeah, I mean, Wake Forest, TCU, I really like. I don't mind betting them to win the College World Series. I really like Kirk Saarloos. Ole Miss, so I have them on as a long shot to win the College World Series, but they're plus 1,400 on Bet Rivers to make the College World Series. They're plus 500 on DK. So you're getting insane value on Bet Rivers for this play. They won the championship 2 years ago. Yeah. So, and then Indiana, my sister went to Indiana. She did not attend one college baseball game. I think she attended one college football game in her 4 years there. But I've been watching them since she went there, and I mean, they made the College World Series with Kyle Schwarber a while back. This is probably their best team since that year. They were at plus 3,500 on Bet Rivers. They had the fourth best odds to win the conference, and then now they're at like plus 2,200. So you lost some value in the last day, but I still think there's a little value there. It's been all over the place with Indiana. Maybe get some plus 3,000s on some sports books, some places.
I'd like to call a lot of these pretty good value considering relative what we're looking at, all these futures here. I think I'm going to have to sprinkle some here, and then I'll be really happy in the summer after listening to you. All right, let's rip through a few conference championship futures that we like. We'll start with the Big 12. You mentioned that you like TCU. You can get them at plus 300 to win their conference.
Yeah, a lot of the conference favorites are right around even odds, except for TCU. It's at plus 300 on Bet Rivers. They're a top 5 team in the country. Next best team in the Big 12 is Texas, and they're right around 16th, I think. And Texas pitching is a little scary because Tanner Witt, they just announced he might not be ready to start the season. They lost Peter Hansen, who was their best pitcher last year. Or no, that was 2 years ago. Logan Gordon last year. So they lost Logan Gordon, who was their top pitcher last year. And so TCU at plus 300, I think is really good value. I really like that team.
All right. Let's move over to the Big Ten here. We'll go with Iowa to win their conference here as well.
Yeah.
Same value.
Same value, plus 300. This is interesting because Indiana, like I said earlier, they had the fourth best odds to win the Big Ten. And then now Indiana's at plus 250 and Iowa's at plus 300. Iowa might have 3 future MLB pitchers in their rotation. Their hitting is what scares me, but sometimes pitching carries you, and the Big Ten is not that strong this year outside of Iowa and Indiana. I could see maybe Nebraska making a run, but I don't love their pitching, and they're going to be really good.
I was going to say, Steven, I was trying to come up with a good Iowa football joke myself. Does Iowa baseball average more points than Iowa football? Wouldn't take much. But
well, honestly, I think it's kind of funny because now I'm thinking about it. They're kind of similarly built where they rely on their pitching and defense and not their offense. So I guess Iowa offense struggling probably outside of wrestling. It struggles in every sport.
Yes.
And I guess true. Caitlin Clark, we got to give her a shout out. Yeah, she's dominant on the hoops.
Yes, big time shout out Caitlin Clark there. All right, let's go to the Atlantic 10 here. Going with your good old classic sprinkle half a unit on a couple different schools. I don't even know how you follow college baseball enough, let alone this nichely, to know these 3 schools to put money on them. But
so this is kind of like these are value plays. St. Louis, they're number 1 on D1 Baseball's preview, and they're number 1 in the preseason poll. I think they got like 12 of the 15 votes in the preseason poll to win the conference, but they have the 4th best odds at plus 650. So I don't understand that on Bet Rivers. This is all Bet Rivers plays as well. St. Joseph's, they have the 3rd best odds at plus 500 behind Dayton and Davidson, but they're number 2 in the preseason poll. And George Mason won the conference last year, and they have like the 6th best odds at plus 900. So these are just all value plays. You're getting value on the 2 teams who are picked to win the conference in preseason who are out the 3rd and 4th best odds.
That literally speaks to college baseball and the betting lines to a T. Like it's just an untapped market, and the books are just not catching up to what they need to. Why are we putting 4 units on St. Louis at plus 6?
Maybe we should.
That's all I gathered.
We'll put the company money on St. Louis.
Yeah. That's going to be our Cinderella. Forget March Madness. We're Team St. Louis now. All right, let's move on to the Atlantic Sun Conference here. We're going with Stetson to win.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just a hunch play for me. I like Stetson. I like their team. I like their coach, Steve Timper. But they have like the 5th best odds to win the conference. They went 20-10 in the conference last year. They lost their best pitcher, but I think they returned 7 of their 9 fielders. And so they should be solid all around. Jacksonville's at plus 150 to win the conference. But I mean, Stetson, they've been a powerhouse at times. They've produced a ton of Cy Young winners. They've produced Jacob deGrom. They've produced a ton. I think they have like 4 Cy Youngs amongst 2 players between Jacob deGrom and
that's like wild.
It's insane. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I didn't know much about that school before, but flex Stetson. All right, let's move on to the Southern Conference here. Samford, we also like another less Hollywood school, but I'm assuming that means they're a pretty good baseball school.
Yeah, they're at plus 175 to win the conference, the SoCon. And I just think it's good value. I usually don't like betting on anything under plus 200, but they're at plus 175, and they're a borderline top 30 team in the country. They returned their Friday night guy from 2 years ago who was out last season, and they recruit really well, Samford, compared to the other schools. Mercer could give them a run for their money, but Mercer lost, I think, their 3 starting pitchers from last season. So give me Samford at plus 175.
All right. Good stuff there. We'll move on to what everyone's been waiting for. Is this Ohio Valley Conference?
Yeah, that was impressive. And then go back to Stetson. Corey Kluber went to Stetson. I was blanking on Corey Kluber for some reason.
Okay.
The Ohio Valley Conference. That was impressive. That was a nice call.
Yeah. I had some friends who played lacrosse at Little Rock, so I know something about Little Rock there.
Yeah. So this is just playing the top 2 teams. Playing Little Rock, who I think should win at plus 200. They returned a ton of players from their lineup last year, including a pitcher who led not just the conference, the country in ERA. Morehead State returns a stud center fielder, stud shortstop. I think they lost a couple of pitchers. I know one of their pitchers transferred to West Virginia. But playing Little Rock, if they win at 1 unit, you're up 1.5 unit because you lose a Morehead State. If you play Morehead State at half a unit, you're still in the positive if they win. And so I think it's just a value play playing the top 2 teams in the conference.
I would have to agree with that. All right, let's move into some money that we can make tomorrow. We aren't having a show tomorrow, but we're going to get those early opening day lines out right now for you guys. Jake, as somebody who has never bet college baseball before, any tips for me heading into this season that you have?
If you have a hunch, if you have a lean, play it as early as possible because these lines will move, especially if any cappers tweet out their plays, they'll move immediately from minus 130 to minus 160 in the snap of a finger. So get ready to put your bets in if you like it. If you don't and you listen to our podcast, and as soon as I say it, get it right there. Don't wait because it will move as well.
All right. So be on time with Jake. Listen to Jake early. Play the plays Jake says to play before he moves the lines. I'm in. All right, let's start here. The first play of the season, Nebraska money line versus Baylor here. Don't know much about these teams, so I'm just going to leave this floor to you.
Yeah, so I know we have a ton of model value on Nebraska when I put it in, but they have a whole new rotation. But the thing is, Baylor has a new rotation, and Baylor was terrible last year. I think they were last in the Big 12. They were really, really bad. They had a new coach last year. They had a bunch of players. Their best player, Colby Branch, he transferred to Georgia. So the Dogs got their best player. And Nebraska, they always have a solid team. They lost their 2 best players to the draft. I think they had 2 players selected in the first 3 rounds. But they have a solid team every year. Plus 100 against a team that was terrible last year, and it's a neutral site. Give me that every day of the week.
All right. I'm in. Don't have to tell me twice. All right, let's move on to Kansas State here. We like the money line versus California.
Yeah, I was on Kansas State at plus 100, and then a lot of people moved it from plus 100 to minus 115. So now both teams are at minus 115. I just think Kansas State's the better team, better pitching. California's starting a true freshman in this game.
Ooh, that's good to know. How do rookie pitchers fare in college baseball?
Not great. It takes a little while to get used to the college game. Everyone in high school has a sub 1 ERA and 100 strikeouts and 50 innings because not that many people go D1 compared to their opponents. So unless you're playing in the elite California or Florida leagues, you're going to have insane numbers. But so they're starting a true freshman at Kansas State. I think has a 6-year senior on the mound. So give me the experience on the mound right here.
Big time. This kid's going to get eaten for breakfast. Oh, my God. That's terrifying. All right. We're going back to the 2-leg parlay money lines here, college baseball edition, UCLA and TCU, 2 teams you've spoken highly of so far.
Yeah,
Maybe not so much UCLA.
I'm not big on UCLA this year. They are ranked in the preseason poll. I think they lost a lot last year. They were really banged up last year. They should be healthier. I mean, can't get much more banged up than they were last year. But they're playing Gonzaga. They're at minus 238 on the money line. Gonzaga wasn't good last year. They were good 2 years ago, but Gonzaga lost their ace to the Rays in the 5th round, and they lost their best hitter to the draft as well. And I think he was drafted by the Cubs. And so they lost a lot, and UCLA should be healthier than they were last year. So I think there's good value at minus 238 if you want to take that straight up. But I really like this TCU team, so I wanted to put them in a money line parlay. So give me both of them in a parlay at minus 109.
And we'll go back to our long shot World Series guy here with Northeastern plus money line here versus Arizona.
Yeah, this was at plus 160 when it opened, and a lot of people got on it, and it moved to plus 135. I think these teams are pretty even. Northeastern probably has the better pitching and the better hitting, but I think it's the game probably favors Arizona in terms of location. So that's probably why it's not close to even, why it's at plus 135. I'm not sure if it's in Arizona or if it's a neutral site. I think the game is being played in Arizona. So, but I think Northeastern is the better team, and there's a reason they're in the top 25 and Arizona isn't. Even though I think Arizona is going to be good this year. They have a really good sophomore third baseman who's good, but their pitching is going to take a little time to gel because they lost a couple of really good starters from last year.
Okay, so is that another key thing to look out for is people who lost starting pitchers? Obviously, that's a pretty heavy hitter.
So Steven, I know he's not so happy with me because I just sent him 4,000 players of data from last year to put in the database. But pitching is really key to look out for. It's number one starters in college baseball is what you want to look at for Friday nights, number two. But sometimes your number one starter will face number two because you want to get your number one starter an easy win against the guy's number two. So it's definitely something to look out for. Pitching.
Wait, I love the drama of that. Okay. I'm getting into this college baseball swing. Fade the rookie pitchers, fade the teams that lost a lot of pitchers to the draft. And
Steven said his home field advantage. I'd say home field is probably a little bigger in college baseball than MLB. I'd probably say it's probably 58% compared to 53% for home team.
Definitely. All right. Well, the more you know, college baseball 101 we just hit. We'll hit the recap screen, a couple NBA plays for tonight, and then 4 plays for your opening day on Friday. I'm sure Jake will be happy to answer questions on Twitter tomorrow as they come in for the Friday slate as well. And again, I know I mentioned it yesterday. Sad to say, bittersweet, but John isn't with us anymore. He's doing his own thing. We wish him the best. He will be giving out plays on Twitter as well. So definitely feel free to reach out to John. He loves to talk to you guys as well. And he's going to be crushing it this season. We will be the college baseball kids. Okay. We're going to dominate. I'm going to figure this one out. With the help of Jake, it's going to be awesome. The whole team is going to be college baseball experts. So either get on the bus or don't, but I think everybody should. All right. So everyone have a great weekend. Again, no show tomorrow, but here are our plays. Reach out to us on Twitter with any questions for tomorrow. Good luck with your bets, and let's make some money.